Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this coffee talk, our LinkedIn, leveraging LinkedIn. We're so glad that so many of you are able to join us. Just some housekeeping. If you want to ask questions at the bottom of your screen, there should be a Q&A feature. If you use that, we'll be able to attend to all of your questions. So use that feature to ask all of your questions, and we will get to them as we break throughout this presentation. But we are looking forward to learning how we can best leverage LinkedIn, especially during this time. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen and Anna.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Let's see, share. So can you guys tell me what I think I'm sharing the presentation, is that correct? Fantastic, thank you for the head nods. So welcome for joining us today. My name is Anna Gibson, and I'm a two-time alum of Cleveland State. I work in HR with recruiting and systems expertise. And this presentation is a combined effort with myself and Kathleen Piper. We've both been giving some version of this presentation for various reasons over the last few years. So we're excited to collaborate today and speak with you about the importance of leveraging your personal brand and your LinkedIn profile for success. Kathleen?
Yes, as Anna said, I'm a two-time alumnus of Cleveland State, and I also work for Cleveland State University. I've been there for 11 years in alumni relation, helping plan various programs such as this, or our Distinguished Alumni Awards, or other programs that we've hosted throughout the years. But this presentation I've been giving to students or our young alumni through our Young Alumni Council for several years. So we hope that you enjoy today's presentation. Go ahead, Anna.
Let's see, PowerPoints. There we go. So today we're going to cover 4 distinct topics. We're going to go ahead and break up our discussion into segments and have breaks in between for Q&A. So we're going to talk about personal branding, then LinkedIn, networking in groups, and finally your job search. So personal branding, how is it relevant? Well, a year ago, things were significantly different for both your job search and your networking capabilities. With the lockdowns done because of COVID-19, many people have found themselves with more time on their hands to worry about what they look like online, because we're doing things like today, doing Zoom meetings, WebExes, not actually having that normal person-to-person interaction. So making sure that your personal brand is doing its best for you is really important. Some key benefits of personal branding include employability, showing yourself as a thought leader, possibly visibility to your company, and also selling yourself. To develop a strong personal brand, you're going to be active on social media, possibly create original content, and be an advocate for your company while engaging with your network. We're going to have a couple of resources available to you at the end of the presentation. So this is just an example of one thing that we'll be sharing with you later. So personal branding, what is it exactly? Well, it's the practice of marketing yourself and your career as a brand. It's how people see you, how you see yourself, and how that rolls up together. It's really a vision. It's not just how you look, but how people feel about you when they interact with you, how people think of you. Your personal brand distinguishes you from your competition. It's what makes you unique, memorable, and helps your target audience connect with you emotionally and want to work with you. So think about it. What makes you unique, distinctive? Why are you the best person to satisfy someone's needs, whether it be in a career purpose or in a volunteer capacity? And finally, why you do what you do. So differentiating yourself is really important. And you're going to be differentiating yourself from your competition through various methods, even during these unique times. it's beyond why, it's how. So you might be at a networking event, a happy hour, interview, work, homeschool, it doesn't matter. You're portraying yourself to people in all those different interactions. So how people see you on social media is just important, since we're not having some of those normal face-to-face interactions. Your personal brand, if you think about it this way, it's 3 different levels. You in the written form, what shows up on your resume, cover letters, what you look like online, whether it be on job sites, your different social media platforms, discussion boards or group pages, and then of course that live interaction that we're all used to. But the live interaction that we're doing today still counts. Conference calls, web meetings, there's happy hours that happen online all the time, especially with different platforms that we have for video calls. So remember that you are portraying your personal brand through all those different avenues. So let's talk a little bit about building your brand. Again, you're going to be utilizing some different platforms, your resume, LinkedIn, your social media accounts, and all of those are rolling up together to what people see as you, your persona, whether that be work involvement, community involvement, things that you do at school. So how do you build your brand? You build your brand through a consistent message across all of your platforms. This is going to tell people who you are and what makes you tick. If you look at my personal platform on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, you're going to see a common theme among my posts. It's about what I do and who I do it for, whether it's work, being an alumni of CSU, or something I do in my HR profession. It's going to be across all of those platforms in a different manner. Once you've built your brand, you're going to need to maintain it. It's really important that you stay in tune with your career goals, the culture that you're in, your personal persona. So how are you going to do that? You're going to listen, you're going to be seen, and you're going to be heard. Find mentors, seek feedback, attend webinars or conferences so you can learn new things, and then share content with purpose. You want to be informational, inspirational, and professional whenever you're posting on social media. You want to make sure that everything that you're talking about online aligns with your brand. And finally, you're going to want to be consistent across all of those platforms. What does your social media presence say about your brand? Think about it for a little bit. And then let's break for Q&A.
Hi, Anna, we do have one question. When it comes to posting personal content, children, our personal opinions, politics, that sort of thing, how should we navigate that in managing our brand?
So I personally struggled with that for a long time, but particularly with my work through Cleveland SHRM. It's a HR professional organization here in Cleveland. And for the longest time, I had my Facebook on lockdown. I didn't connect with people that I knew professionally. I had my profile super, super, super secret. And it was like, wait a second, it's part of who I am. So one thing that I've heard as one of those tips is that you don't want to share something that you wouldn't want your grandmother to read or that you wouldn't want brought up in court. So regardless of what you're posting, you want to be professional, even if it's on your own personal profile. Politics get a little complicated. Everyone knows that politics and family and work don't really mix. So just, unless politics is part of who you are deep down to the core and you have to be sharing that on social media, I would recommend that you keep it off just because it's a little bit safer. Again, it's your personal preference and there's no right answer, but if you want to try to contain any inflammatory discussions around what you're posting, my recommendation would not be to post political things.
If I could just add to that, I would say as long as you're being true to what your brand is, showing your personal life, or if politics, again, are something that you are very passionate about, as long as it's true to your brand, then it should be true to the companies that you're trying to work with or the things that you're trying to do professionally. So as long as you are authentic and comfortable with what you are sharing in your professional realm, I think it's appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, sorry about that. My mouse is having some technical difficulties today. We have a couple more questions that just popped up. One is there software to send a unified message to all your social media platforms?
From my experience, if there is, I'm not using it personally, but there is something called Hootsuite that a lot of companies use. So I do use that for professional purposes, but not for personal. I just do, like, before our session started today, I did a post on Instagram, which then posted to my Facebook feed and my Twitter feed. I'll have to go back later and do that post on LinkedIn. I just feel like I have more customization that way. But if you are planning posts out in advance, there's a free version of Hootsuite that can help you out with that. But I'm sure there are other platforms available as well. But that's just the more common one.
We actually use Hootsuite as well, so I can recommend that one personally. But
yeah.
Okay, we've got a couple more. How are you using LinkedIn Pulse to leverage and increase your personal brand?
I personally don't use Pulse. Kathleen?
I think it's a great way to read relevant articles for your field, to stay up to date on trends in your field, to follow influencers and what they are sharing. I don't personally use it often, but I know that that's some of the things that it can be used for. And if used well, it's a great way to expand your network and connect with influencers on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. And then we've got another one here. Should you keep a Facebook personal page and a separate Facebook public figure page?
Are you a public figure? Are you running for office someday? You can, but now you're going to be maintaining two separate brands. Are you prepared to commit to maintaining two separate identities of yourself? And like, it's a bounce off of what Kathleen said earlier. Are you being true to yourself that way? Is it really your authentic self by having to, don't get me wrong, some people do, and that's okay. But you want to think about the purpose behind it.
And I think truly something like that depends on how big your personal brand is. You know, if you truly are on the level of an influencer on your social media platforms, you know, you might not want to be sharing grandma's birthday party to all of your, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers. So in that respect, it might be good to have both. But I mean, if you're just talking about your personal brand, you know, with a smaller community, I think it would be easier to have just the one and be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Great. That's all the questions we have for, oh, wait, I lied. There's one more, just popped up. Do you recommend posting to Instagram and Facebook with the same content?
So I do, but that doesn't mean you have to. And a part has to do with Instagram is supposed to be more about that visual, where Facebook is a little bit more of the story behind it. So you can have a deeper post on Facebook than you would put on Instagram. So in that manner, if your intent is to share a bigger story, that would be more appropriate to do two separate posts then.
I find for our, you know, CSU a kind of post that sometimes I have to do two different ones just because of the links in Instagram, because you can only put a link in your bio unless you have over 10,000 followers, I believe.
Okay.
So sometimes I have to kind of modify
and toggle back and forth.
I don't know if other people run into that as much as we do, because we're usually sharing like an event or something like that needs a link. But so sometimes if you use something like Hootsuite, you have to kind of customize.
And tagging too. So like Kathleen and I are connected on Facebook, and apparently not on Instagram. So I wasn't able to tag her on my Instagram post, which then fed over to Facebook. So it depends on, again, you know, you need to include links. Are you putting in more content? Are you tagging the right people?
Okay, great. think I didn't, no more have, oh, nope, I lied. There are more. People have lots of questions for you. Okay, let's see. Oh, maybe we're kind of answering each other here. I meant, are you writing LinkedIn? Oh, somebody following up on the LinkedIn Pulse comment. Are you writing LinkedIn Pulse posts to expand your personal brand?
I think you can. I think, again, you just want to make sure that whatever you are sharing is relevant and valuable and going to add to that community. I think Pulse is mostly used for like articles. So if you are publishing articles or information that are relevant to your field or doing something that's noteworthy in your field, I think publishing something would be on Pulse would be appropriate. Otherwise, maybe looking for similar articles and then commenting or adding to other people's posts, particularly if you don't have a large following. That might be a way to get your content to go further by already connecting with someone who's already an influencer and talking on a very similar topic. Yeah.
And we have a tip that I'm learning too while we're here, that was using Linktree in your bio on Instagram. Now I've seen other people do that, but I guess I didn't realize that we could do that as a, you know, depending on what kind of account you had. So I'm gonna have to look into that. Thank you.
Yeah. Linktree or Campsite are good for your Instagram or any bio so that you can post multiple links.
All right, I think that's all the questions for now. So let you keep going.
All right, so now we're going to get into how to leverage your LinkedIn. This is just a screenshot of one of those resources that will be at the end of our presentation. It's created by LinkedIn, but it gives you 10 tips on how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. And again, they are kind of repeating some of the things that Anna mentioned, you know, about being authentic, being visible, making sure you are consistent. So next slide. How to build your LinkedIn. One of the most important things that you can do with LinkedIn is to make sure that you have 100% complete profile, and you need 6 things in order to have a complete profile. Users that have a complete profile are 40 times more likely to receive job opportunities through LinkedIn. So what do you need? You're going to need to include your employment. You want to make sure you have a current and 2 past positions. You want to make sure that you link to the company page. So LinkedIn works with degrees of separation. So when you link to your company's page, you're now linked to that network of people, and that's what you want. It's all about networking and connecting. So you want to make sure you are linked to your actual company page. You also want to include start and end dates, and then you want to make sure that your positions have descriptions. I think LinkedIn is a great way to expand on your resume, particularly if you struggle with the 1 to 2 page resume. It gives you a chance to expand on things you're doing, show the value adds that you've added to that company. You can link to different things through projects and such. So those descriptions under your employment history can be really valuable. The next thing you need for a complete profile is skills. This is a chance for you to showcase your abilities and talents. It's also a great way to kind of research jobs and career paths and where trends are happening. You need to have at least 3 skills listed on your profile for a complete profile, but you can add up to 50. Working in alumni relations, some of my skills might be event planning, marketing, leadership, higher education. The great thing about skills is that people can then endorse those skills. And this is a great way to see if your brand is on check. So I might think event planning is my top skill, but I may be receiving a lot of endorsements for leaderships. So again, this will let you know if how you're describing yourself matches with how others are describing you. You can also click on various skills and see the different trends in the job market for that skills, so to see how marketable you are with the job market. The next thing that you want to have a complete profile is you want to make sure you have your industry and location listed. This by default will be the zip code that you entered when you set up your profile. So if you are looking to switch industries or relocate, you want to make sure this is current for where you are heading with your career path. So it's not necessarily where you currently are. Last, you want to make sure that you add a photo. Profiles that have a photo are 14 times more likely to be found on LinkedIn. This also gives recruiters and people looking at your profile a great first impression of you. And Anna's going to go into further on how to create a great profile photo. Once you have all of your profiles set up with these things, then the last step is to add connections. And I say it's the last step because you don't want people to kind of see the unedited work in progress version of your profile. So you want to make sure that you've got it cleaned up and that it truly represents your brand before you add these connections. You need to have 50 connections for a complete profile. When you're adding people, you want to make sure that you're inviting people that you know, or that perhaps maybe you've met once at a happy hour or such. Or if they're people that you don't know, I would suggest making sure you personalize that invitation to them. So when you ask to connect with them, you know, if you met them at a happy hour, reference that you met them at a happy hour. If you don't know them at all, make sure you're referencing why you want to connect, because you have similar job aspirations or you're interested in the same things. That way it's just not out of the blue trying to connect. LinkedIn does a really good job of trying to keep its site professional. And so if you are marked as spam 5 times, they will deactivate your account for a period of time in order to keep their platform professional. So just be aware of that as you connect. Now Anna's going to go into how to take your profile to the next level and really make it stand out.
So let's talk a little bit about standing out. To expand on what Kathleen said earlier, you're not going to just cut and paste your resume. LinkedIn is going to give you the opportunity to really expand on your skills, projects that you've worked on, things that you want to highlight. Another great thing about LinkedIn is that it can be conversational. This is an opportunity for you to tell your story and really craft what people see and hear and read about you. You're going to want to make sure that you've got that professional photo. Not something from prom or one of those ones with somebody's arm over your shoulder. If you don't have a professional headshot, get a friend to take a picture of you with a blank solid color wall in your background. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just make sure that you have a nice professional photo. You can write a personal tagline and then personalize your URL. To make your summary great, use your elevator pitch. How do you introduce yourself to people? You're going to be utilizing LinkedIn to introduce yourself to strangers on the internet. So use that summary as a way to say, hey, here I am, here's what I do, and get them interested in reading up more. Again, you're going to want to highlight your accomplishments. Really expand on your resume and talk about the things that you've done, your different accomplishments, interests, and then, of course, what you want to do, your different ambitions. It's really important from the recruiting standpoint that you clarify the difference between internships and full-time roles. And if you ever worked for an agency or a contract agency, you're going to want to make sure that you list them as your employer and not the company that you were stationed at. You can give and ask for recommendations. And then it's super important to include the contact information of how you actually want people to get a hold of you. Put the email address that you check regularly. If you want to put your phone number, make sure it's a number that you answer. And finally, to help stand out on LinkedIn, engage. Share contents, join groups, and follow different companies. Let's talk a little bit more about how you are portraying yourself on LinkedIn and your brand. It's going to change over time, and that's okay. It's an evolution. You're a work in progress, just like your brand. So I have an example here of when I was a student and then when I graduated and was actually working. Your picture is going to change. Your tagline is going to change, and that's okay. It's an evolution of who you are. However, you're going to want to make sure that you update things over time. This happens to be an old screenshot of my current profile. It's been updated since then. When you change positions, when you have some new things that you want to share, make sure that you update your profile. Try to do it once a month at a minimum, even if you're not looking for a job, because this is still your story. Remember, it's part of your personal brand. LinkedIn is more than just a job search portal. Remember, as you're making your headline and summary, that you want to target your audience, speak to who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Speak in first person, and remember that less is more. Just like when you meet somebody in person, you've only got 7 to 10 seconds to catch their attention and want them to keep reading and learning more about you. So make sure that you get them at the very beginning with a professional headshot, with a tagline and a summary that's going to have them keep scrolling down. Let's talk a little bit about your settings. It's really important that, just like on other social media platforms, you customize your settings so that people know how to get a hold of you. One way I mentioned earlier you can do that is by customizing your URL. So when you go to your settings on LinkedIn, go ahead and click the edit public profile, and that'll give you some additional options. That'll give you visibility for both public, and when you go to this yourself and scroll down, there's a long list of all these little toggles for you to click on to give you different options. I personally have my LinkedIn profile pretty open because I want people to be able to find me. But if you do want to have some things closed off, you can. Just make sure that you know that the content that you're putting on LinkedIn, you want it to be out there working for you. A recruiter could be Googling someone in a certain industry, in a certain location, and if you turned off your location setting, they're not going to find you. This is a social network used for business purposes. You really don't want to hide things. You want it working for you when you're not working. Talk about getting connected again. As Kathleen mentioned earlier, it's really important that when you send out a connection request on LinkedIn, that you include a customized invitation with a note. Maybe you met someone, maybe you watched their TED Talk, and you want to get to know them better. Let them know why you're connecting so that they accept. We're going to talk a little bit more about utilizing some other of the LinkedIn options in a moment, but first we're going to have some Q&A on the basics.
So we have a couple questions. Kathleen and Anna, you both mentioned about reaching out to people that you know, and if you don't know, prefacing that with some sort of context. Alex, he asks, how do you deal with unsolicited invitations who don't necessarily provide that context, and how can you turn that into a meaningful interaction?
So people that are sending you connection requests is I'm assuming what you're asking there. So usually if I don't know a person right off the bat, just by the little bit of information that I see on LinkedIn, I will go to their actual profile to gather some more information, and then I would send them a note back if I don't feel comfortable connecting with them immediately. So if you look at their profile and you realize, okay, we have like-minded interests, we're on a similar career path, this would be a meaningful connection for me. I mean, feel free to connect, but you can always exchange a message back to them and be like, hi, John, I'm not really sure where I know you from or why you're interested in connecting, but I see we do share some common interests, how can I, be of assistance to you, or why are you interested in connecting? I mean, just asking, you're starting that dialogue with that person, and I think that's appropriate. Anna, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends, especially on the industry as well. So as a former recruiter, I get a lot of people who have seen jobs posted on my company's website, and they're like, hey, I'm interested in blah, blah, blah. So it's not that they really want to connect with me, they just want to talk to somebody. And so I might actually forward them on to the right person to talk to and send them information about how to apply for jobs. Whereas if they are a CSU student, I might connect with them anyways because I know we have something in common. So it depends on the layers. So I might look at their profile and see, oh yeah, there's more to it than just what is at the surface. Because at the end of the day, a connection is a connection as long as you make it meaningful. If it's just somebody trying to add because they want to have 1,000 contacts, then I'm not going to accept. And you can usually get that just from having that quick interchange back and forth with someone. The flip side of that is, if you don't write a note and I'm not interested in your profile, you might be one of those that sits in there. I may have a list of probably about 70 that I've never accepted, and they'll just float into nothingness eventually.
We have another question. It's a beginner question. Where are the skills listed on your profile? This person was looking at their profile and couldn't find where the skills were listed.
So they're typically on the bottom half of your profile. Like if you were looking at my profile, once you scroll down to the bottom, there'll be skills, there'll be projects, there'll be courses. I believe you can add skills under your education, or you can add them under your employment. So it's like an add-on feature, again, to expand on those descriptions that you would put under your education or under your employment.
Great. The next question, can you offer advice to those of us who graduated from CSU in 1979 when PCs didn't exist? Work was more important than meeting people at happy hours. We stayed in our jobs for 20 plus years. Our work ethic seems to be from a completely different planet now. How can we present ourselves and connect with like-minded employers?
Well, I can speak as someone, I've been at CSU now for 11 years, so I'm kind of unlike, I guess, a lot of younger professionals who are switching jobs frequently. But I think, again, LinkedIn does a good job, at least initially, when you're setting up your profile, of guiding you through how to create the profile, what content maybe you might want to add. I mean, I have a fully completed profile, and I feel like when I log in every once in a while, it'll tell me, do you want to update your position, or do you want to add different details? I think, showing those things that you have accomplished, those actionable, those actions that you've made within your, 20 years at whatever company, is a great way to highlight things on your profile. I think joining groups, being a part of the dialogue on different special interest topics, it's just a way to make you stand out from the crowd. I don't think working at a company for a long time hinders you, and Anna maybe can expand on that from an HR perspective. But I think, again, with LinkedIn, it just keeping yourself relevant by making sure you have valuable, authentic content is important.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of employers do still have employees that have been there for 15, 20, 25 years. So you just want to follow companies that maybe have employees that have a longer shelf life, so to speak. The more common job hopping that, unfortunately some of us millennials have gotten tagged with, it isn't, so not quite as long as Kathleen, but I've been with my employer for 5 years now, and the one before that was 7. So just because you fit into a certain bucket based on when you graduated from college doesn't mean we're all the same. So you're going to want to focus and really hone in on what makes you unique, and the fact that you have been out in the job market for that long is part of it. And you have stories to tell and things that you can help guide. And, there's this wonderful thing called reverse mentoring. You could end up with a manager, if you haven't already, that's significantly younger than yourself, and you're going to actually help them throughout the course of time because of your experiences. So you really just want to focus on that when you're trying to market yourself on your LinkedIn profile.
Great, thank you. When, if ever, is it appropriate to disconnect or drop a connection?
If it's not adding value to you, just disconnect. If you connect with someone and then you realize that their profile is mostly spam or advertisements for something that they're trying to sell, because that exists out there, just unconnect. They probably won't even notice that you've unconnected. You don't have to make an announcement or a big deal about it. Just unconnect when it no longer serves your needs or your professional aspirations. Yeah, I would just unconnect.
Great, thanks. Last question. If you have been unemployed and focusing on professional development, is it better to make a LinkedIn post for your connections or add a position of unemployed/professional development on your profile?
I think if you are unemployed and looking for a position, that headline is a great way to advocate for yourself and for that job. So like with current students, I'll often tell them that, you know, they shouldn't just have, you know, barista at Starbucks or, you know, student at Cleveland State as their headline. They should put out there the things they bring to the table and that they are seeking work. And I'll get into that in the next portion of our presentation, but there actually is a way to change your preferences on LinkedIn so that you can say, I'm actively looking for a job, and it will let people with premium recruiter accounts know that you are open to opportunities at this time. So I think the way you utilize your headline and summary is a great way to say, like, yes, I am unemployed at the time, but I am actively learning, I'm actively gaining skills, and this is what I can bring to the table.
Great, thank you. That's it for now.
Okay. So I am going to, Anna, I can't see your screen. Where'd it go? Anna, can you share your screen?
So it says that I'm sharing. Let me stop and start again.
Oh, I see it again.
Okay, cool.
All right, so working in alumni relations, we often get questions on how to network with alumni, how to find classmates, how to find a mentor, and then just how to use the alumni network on the job search. And unfortunately, in alumni relations, our hands are often tied because we can't give out alumni contact information. But LinkedIn is a great resource that alums can use to connect with one another. One way to do that is by utilizing groups on LinkedIn. You can join up to 100 groups on LinkedIn, and this will help increase your visibility and build those relationships as well as build your brand. There are groups for education, industry, shared interest, local area. Cleveland State has an official group, and then there is a group for each of the colleges that you can join. One thing when you are looking to join groups that you want to make sure that a group is active and that it serves the target audience that you are looking to participate with, and that the content resonates with you. Joining an inactive group is like attending a networking function where no one talks. So you want to make sure that people are posting daily, that the content's relative to what you are trying to accomplish professionally or whatever your interest is. And then once you're in the group, you want to start participating. Usually when I join a group, I listen first, again, check out what people are posting about, see kind of how the culture of the group is working. And then I usually will start commenting on posts, adding valuable, relevant opinions, information, additional content. You can easily just introduce yourself, particularly if it's like a regional group. You can say, you know, I'm new to the area and I'm in this profession and looking to connect with people based on XYZ. That's a great way to start participating. You can also, the nice thing about groups, so again, you'll see influencers and you'll see people that are in groups and they're posting a lot. The nice thing with groups is that you can message people that are non-first degree connections. So again, LinkedIn works with degrees of separation. And so sometimes, let's say you're trying to get a job at Disney for whatever reason, and you join groups that have a lot of Disney executives in them. That Disney executive might be not connected to you in any way, whether it be from former companies, former educational systems, whatever. But by joining that group, you now have a point of connection and you're able to message that person if you want to. When it comes to groups, you just want to make sure you're posting consistently, posting often, and just participating. It's a great way to get yourself noticed. It's a great way to kind of build those relationships in a virtual space. And like with our Cleveland State official group, it's a great way to connect with alumni on similar topics that you might have about the university or about your past experiences with the university. And usually Vikings are willing to help fellow Vikings. So that's what I have about groups. Next slide. LinkedIn in general, just with finding a mentor or connecting, the search function is pretty much unlimited. You can search people, jobs, companies, groups, schools, topics, just any general keywords. And again, it's going to bring up people that are either second, third, or first degrees of connections to you, but it'll bring up all kinds of different people. This is a great research tool. Again, like if you're trying to work at Disney, you can possibly look at the profile of a Disney executive, see where they started in their career, how they built their career, the types of groups they belong to, professional organizations they belong to, projects they worked on. You can, the articles or things that they are posting. It's a great way just kind of to make sure that you're relevant and understanding the industry that you are seeking to be successful in. When you do find people on LinkedIn via the search thing, you can follow them first, particularly if they're, you know, that Disney executive. You don't want to like stalk someone's profile, but if you follow them, it's kind of an unobtrusive way of connecting, seeing what they're posting, you know, then get involved, follow the companies they follow, join the groups they're a part of. And then once you start to kind of have that dialogue in informal settings like the groups or possibly in the Pulse articles, if they're posting a lot of those, then you can do that invite to connect or message them to have that one-on-one kind of connection. When you're doing that with someone that you don't know on LinkedIn, just try to set the boundaries. Be very clear of why you are reaching out to them. If you have a question, be specific and just try to keep it like short and sweet so that you're not, you know, wasting anyone's time, particularly when you don't know someone. Once that relationship builds, obviously that can change. Going on to the Finding a Mentor. So this is the alumni tool, which is on LinkedIn. And there are over 91,000 Cleveland State alumni on LinkedIn, which is a huge percentage of our alumni base. And this tool is fabulous for, you know, finding a classmate, researching a career path, figuring out if you're trying to relocate, because you can search alumni based on the area that they live in, the companies they're working for, the fields that they're working in, what their majors were in college, the different skill sets that they have, and also how connected you are to them. So people that you're directly connected with, second connections, and third connections. It's a great way to research if you're looking to get into graduate programs or you're looking to continue your education in some way. If you're on the job search, again, it's a great way to say, you know, I want to work for the Cleveland Clinic, or you're switching career paths and, you know, I was in marketing, but now I've decided, you know, to do engineering and I got this degree in engineering, but now how do I make that transition to that new job? It's a great way to do that research. And again, for our purpose in alumni relations, we're often asked, you know, how can I find my classmates? This tool on LinkedIn can really help you do that. You can look by when people graduated, again, what their major was, where they're working. And it's a great way too, particularly if you are in our graduate programs or a current student, to kind of see what your degree can do for you. So this alumni tool is to your benefit. Next slide. So exploring job opportunities, and I'm only going to touch on this briefly because Anna's going to give more of the HR perspective on the job search. But there are over 10 million jobs listed on LinkedIn alone. And it's a great way. You can search by keywords, title, industry, location, company, function, experience level, just about anything you can search for. You're allowed to save up to 10 job alerts on LinkedIn, which will then, you'll get emails or notifications letting you know when new jobs are added. LinkedIn also does a great job of just saying these are some jobs you might be interested in based on the information that you have on your profile. And then, like I mentioned earlier, From the home page of your profile, you can update your preferences as far as the job search goes. And this is where you can say, you know, these are various titles of jobs I'm interested in. These are various locations I'm interested in jobs. I'm willing to start tomorrow because I'm currently unemployed, or I would be, you know, flexible and, you know, have to give 2 weeks notice, but I am looking for new opportunities, whether you're looking for full-time, part-time, contract work. And then at the end, like I said, you can say that you're open, and it'll put a badge on your profile, saying that you are currently looking for work, or you can do like a private, you know, saying that you're open for work privately, which then only recruiters that have a premium LinkedIn account would be notified that you're actively seeking opportunities. So there's just a lot of information on LinkedIn just with jobs alone. Next slide. One of the nice things when you are looking for jobs on LinkedIn, you can save jobs, you can apply for jobs directly on LinkedIn. So they might have you go to the company website and follow those protocols, but it will also then showcase your LinkedIn profile to that recruiter. It gives you additional information, which is always helpful as far as how many applicants have applied for a certain job. Based on your profile content, whether your skills match the other applicants or match the job description for that job. I love that it shows you how you're connected, again, those degrees of separation. So it'll show you other Vikings that are working at that company. It'll show you if you worked at company X, how many former employees of company X are working at this new company. It'll show you just how you are connected to the company as a whole and to the job. If a recruiter posted the job and has a premium LinkedIn account, you will also see the recruiter's profile page, like Anna said. And this is great because you can get background information on the recruiter, kind of know who you might be interviewing with in the future, what their background is, if you share any common information with them, and you can reach out via InMail. I would just suggest to be careful with this. You obviously don't want to stalk recruiters, but if you just want to kind of make that good first impression, keep it short and simple, and ask a relevant question. You know, when do you expect to interview for this position? Or I'm just trying to gain information on XYZ. Just keep it simple, short, and again, don't over communicate with a recruiter, particularly if you don't know them. Again, like Anna said, the nice thing with this is Case Western Reserve up here, or it could be Cleveland State or any other job. If you click on that company, it'll show you how many of your connections work for that company. And that's a great way then to reach out to your actual connections, people you do know, and say, how do you like working there? What's it like? What's the culture like? How do you know that this job is open? Can you give me any information? Versus reaching out to the actual recruiter. You can follow the companies, follow the information that they're posting, and that will also help you prepare for your interview if you were to get one. And finally, LinkedIn does, I've mentioned a few times, the recruiter premium account. There is a job seeker premium account. It costs $29.99 a month. I don't think it's personally necessary, but if you are really actively on the job search, it does give you some additional information. It'll add you to the top of the recruiter's applicant list if you are applying for jobs via LinkedIn. It'll let you know how competitive you are to other applicants based on LinkedIn profiles. It'll give you, top skills, where applicants live, what the trends are for hiring in the company. It'll also give you something called a salary tool, so you can kind of estimate what you might make if you were to get that job. Again, I don't think a premium account is necessary, but it does give you additional information if you are really actively on the job search. So now we're going to break for a little Q&A on networking and using those various tools, and then Anna will get more into the job search from an HR perspective.
Great, thank you, Kathleen. We have a couple of questions. One is, if you were reorganized out of your job, so maybe laid off, and then had to take a several-year break due to some extenuating life circumstances, how should that be addressed? Should you bring that up? How do you address a gap in your employment history?
And again, I'm not in HR, but at least on a LinkedIn profile, I mean, you want to just be honest, you know, I mean, it is what it is. Life happens, you know, people take time off for all kinds of various reasons. I think on a profile like LinkedIn, it would be good to highlight how you kept your skills relevant during that time off, you know, whether it be continuing ed, whether it be volunteer work that you did in your downtime. Just showing that, you know, even though I took time off from an actual professional role where I was getting paid, you know, I still was, you know, active in the community doing X, Y, and Z that relates to my profession, or I took on and learned a new skill here or there. So I think highlighting those things, Anna can probably talk more from an HR perspective.
Yeah, so you want to be careful about what you're saying online. Remember that when you do actually go in or call in for that interview, they're going to ask about your gap of employment. So you're going to talk about it a little bit during the interview process, but you want to keep it professional. So depending on what your personal circumstances are, you don't want to share all of that with the people you're interviewing with. First of all, the easy way to say it is the less that you share that's personal, the better. So you may have had a situation pop up that you had to deal with your family. You don't have to explain that your great grandmother had, you know, terminal cancer, and, you know, we all feel for you, and we've all been through different things, but you don't actually have to say what happened. You just say that you had a personal matter that you had to attend to, and people will understand, and they're not going to grill you and ask for more information about it. So that will give you the chance to then focus on what you were doing to help build your career going forward once you're able to pick back up and start working again.
Okay, great. Thank you. We have another one. Let's see. If you want to use LinkedIn to promote the work you do, not just as a job search tool, what are some effective techniques?
I think, you know, the groups or that Pulse where you can showcase articles and stuff like that are great tools. I think business owners or people who are self-employed in some way, or leaders in their industry, they're really active in groups. If you go into an active group, you're going to see those influencers. And so I think posting the relevant content, showcasing the work you're doing there. I think groups is a great place. If you are publishing articles or doing noteworthy things, Pulse is a great place to showcase that information. I mean, just toot your own horn. Like, I mean, it's a social network, but it's a great place to do that. Whether it be you just posting an update or posting in actual groups for professional related things like Pulse that's on there.
Great. We have a couple more quick questions. For someone concerned about ageism, should they include their graduation dates on their LinkedIn profile?
You don't have to include dates on your profile for things like when you went to school. It's going to be on your resume, again, when you're applying for a job later. So if you're concerned about how people perceive you when they first look at your profile, only put your last 10 years of employment. Don't include the date when you graduated. Make sure that you do keep in your education there, because it is important that people know where you went and what you did. And, you know, later it will come up that, yes, you graduated in the 70s, and that's okay, but at least it's not right out there right away.
Oops, sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. There's another one here. Let's see. How effective is applying to jobs directly via LinkedIn?
So it depends on the employer. If they don't have a very thorough job platform, like Taleo or SuccessFactors, they might be utilizing the platform that LinkedIn uses for jobs to then manage all their candidate pool, in which case it's probably going to be very effective. However, if you see an employer that gives you the option to either apply through LinkedIn or to go to their main website, go do the extra clicks and go to their main website and apply that way, because that'll actually get you in, and it won't get filtered through. You'll make sure that your profile is accurate and complete, because if you use the LinkedIn option, it might just be scraping some data off of your profile. So again, it just depends on the employer. If they don't have a robust applicant tracking system, then they're going to be using it, and go for it.
Great, thank you. And we had someone jump in to mention that they had a really good experience networking with a recruiter on LinkedIn. Like you were talking about, they found a common connection, and it helped sort of, you know, enhance their relationship through LinkedIn. So that's great. That was a good comment. Let's see, what else popped up here? Wondering, would it be better to just skip LinkedIn then and go straight to the website in the instance that you were just mentioning?
For application purposes, yes, but you're using LinkedIn to find out if you have any connections that also work at that company. So by being on LinkedIn for the job search, you're still gaining some insight into either common connections, people that maybe used to work there that you know. So it's still a useful tool, but for the actual application, yes, go ahead and go directly to the website.
And if you are doing that research on LinkedIn, when you hit the apply button, some companies will say apply on the website, and it's just an extra click. So if the company prefers you applying on their website, LinkedIn will let you know if you're using it. But again, like Anna said, it gives you kind of that research behind the scenes information, whether your skills align with the job, whether you know connections, which then I think help better prepare you for that application process.
They were sort of following up that, you know, if as you're going through that job process, how could it help you to know who works there? Like to see these other connections that you might have at the company?
I think you can research career paths, see how a person came to the company since they've been to the company. Have they been promoted several times? You know, those types of things when you're looking at someone's profile give you a sense of the culture of the employer, you know, how much of a chance there is for advancement. If you have similar backgrounds as people that work there, all of that can help you when you're in an interview, kind of set yourself apart.
Great. Okay. I think that's all I have for right this minute.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to wrap things up by talking a little bit more about job sites. And this really is going to tie everything together. If you think about your personal brand, you think about how you're leveraging LinkedIn, think about how you are advertising yourself as a potential candidate across all the different platforms. You can have a profile on Indeed, Glassdoor, Career Builder, Monster, and LinkedIn. You want to make sure that when you update your resume, you're updating it on all of those platforms, that you're consistent in who you are as an applicant across every single one. So let's think a little bit about how recruiters use those job sites. We're posting jobs, we're actually sourcing candidates, and then we're also using it as a networking tool or referral generation. So just like you can search people on LinkedIn, you're going to be able to do that on some of the job sites as well as a recruiter to see who's connected in different ways. It's also an opportunity for employers to further brand themselves. So whether it be a company page on LinkedIn or their company page on Indeed, you're going to learn more about their culture, some of the expectations of what it's like to work there just by seeing what they're promoting about themselves on those sites. Talk a little bit more about how you use those sites. Remember, these are all professional networks. LinkedIn is kind of a hybrid. It's a job site plus it's a social media site. So you want to be careful on how you're branding yourself, because remember that you're marketing yourself as a professional to other professionals. You're going to want to showcase those skills that might not be on your resume. Remember that regardless of what platform you're on, recruiters are going to be looking at your profile. So if it is public, they're going to look at it. You might be reaching individuals on these different sites that you weren't targeting. So be prepared to hear from someone who's interested in you in a field that maybe wasn't on your radar. And when you're posting on these different sites, think about whether it's more appropriate for a different platform. Should you be posting something on LinkedIn? Should be posting it on Instagram or Facebook? If you wouldn't post XYZ on a job site, you're not going to post it on LinkedIn. So make sure that you're really careful with your content. A couple of job search tips. Don't forget about who knows you. It's not always about who you know, it's about who knows you. Do they even know that you're looking? So yes, you've put on LinkedIn that you're actively seeking employment. Do your former colleagues know? Do your old school professors know? Do some of your family members know? It's really important that if you're out there looking, that you let people know, because they can be just as great an advocate as your brand on these different sites. Be prepared to have conversations with people, especially friends and family, about what you're looking for in a career, because once you tell people, they're going to want to know. They're going to want to talk about it. Make sure that you limit your search to locations you want. Kathleen had mentioned earlier that you can go ahead and put in the work location of where you want to work, and that's okay. But be open. If you don't want to relocate to Dallas, don't look at employers that are only in Texas. Speaking about dream jobs, yeah, I don't know why Disney became an example, but it's just a great one. I mean, like, you know, movies are cool. You want to work for Disney? Go to their website, go to their career page, and create a profile. Set up job alerts. You want to work for NASA? The only way you're going to work there is if they know you want to work there. So don't just keep an eye out for jobs that are posted, but go to their site, set up job alerts, and become part of their talent community, because again, recruiters are going to be able to then search for you in their database because you put yourself there. And you never know, you could just land that dream job. Last piece of advice for your job search is staying organized. It's really, really important that you keep track, because if you are actively seeking employment, you're going to be talking to a lot of people. You're clicking apply over and over and over again. So make a list, whether it be in a notebook, in Excel spreadsheets, or if you utilize a more active tool like OneNote or OneDrive or Trello. Make sure that you're keeping track of what you applied to, what the position was. That'll give you an opportunity to then track who the recruiter is that you talk to when they follow up. And you'll be able to easily access that from, hopefully, all of your mobile devices or your computer, and then just be able to bring it up when somebody's on the phone with you. Also, make sure that you use your calendar and sync it with your phone. That way you can set up reminders when you have interviews, so that you give yourself some time to prepare, so that when you get that call from a recruiter, you're not caught off guard because you lost track of the time. So make sure you utilize technology to help keep you organized. Now, we rushed through those last couple of slides there because we've got, well, we've run out of time. It's a little after 11 now, but we do have a chance to talk a little bit more about job sites if there are any questions from the group, or we can just wrap it up. It's up to you, Elizabeth.
We do have at least one more question here. Let's see. We've got, are there differences between the career websites in terms of career type and level? I've heard stick to LinkedIn if you were looking for management or white collar, and that Monster is for hourly blue collar jobs. How true is that? And then at what point in your career are these sites less effective? Senior manager, chief, you know, like, do you have any advice for the level that you're looking for, the type of job?
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen that. And actually, I didn't touch on it, but I mean, even Facebook has a jobs page. So, I mean, it just really depends on the positions you're looking for. A company might spend a little bit of extra money advertising a blue collar job on Monster and on Facebook than they would on LinkedIn, because they know that their target audience is using those platforms. So you could use all of them, and just know that you might see more ads pop up for jobs that are of that particular skill set.
Okay, great. Let's see. I just give everybody one more second here if anybody's got a final question. Oh, and someone noted that LinkedIn has a banner, #open-to-work.
Yeah, that's that preferences. You can update your preferences on your profile page on LinkedIn. So again, that's where you can publicly note that you are open to work, or you can privately to only recruiters who have a premium profile put out that you are open to opportunities. So it's a great tool. And I think anyone would be lying if they said they weren't open to the next great opportunities. So I think at least on that privately letting recruiters know that you're open, as long as your LinkedIn profile really speaks to your brand and is up to date and current, I don't see why not at least letting recruiters know you might be open to the possibility of a new opportunity is a bad thing.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all your great advice, ladies. We've got some thank you messages in here from the attendees. So I know the advice was really appreciated, and everybody that attended, we're so happy to have you. And we have a lot more great events coming up. If you want to check out our website, csualumni.com. And thank you so much for coming today. Thank you both for all your great advice. I learned a bunch of things personally too, so thank you. And I know everyone else did too. Oh, yep, got some more thank yous rolling in, so I think it was much appreciated.
Well, thanks everyone for having us today.
Yes, thank you.